Ishan, Alex, and Ashton, you're next on episode 18 of the Red Golf Swing Analysis series. Good afternoon, Line Golf Academy members and guests, and welcome back to episode 18 of the Red Golf Swing Analysis series. We have enough videos in our library to go through episode 23 or 24, so if you're interested in submissions, you don't have to follow Reddit. You can just submit a down the line and face-on view to the email in the description below. If you're new to the series, basically what we do is we get submissions of down the line and face on and help the students just look at cause and effect on what could be causing or creating some issues in their motion. By no way is this a replacement for a lesson. It's just basically giving them a better understanding and also for education purposes for our current students and anybody wishing just to see how the swing works. My philosophy in the golf swing is basically working from the ground up and then inside out, looking at cause and effect of weight transfer, stability. So I keep things fairly simple here, but to get a true swing analysis should be done in person where somebody can put you on a TPI range motion and also your hand-eye coordination, go over some injuries that you might have. But since we don't have any of that stuff, we're just going on visual. What I recommend, some changes might be made, should also be assisted by a teaching professional. If you don't have one, I highly recommend you do. So with that being said, let's get to it. First up, we have Alex. Let's see what Alex put in his notes. Basically, hits a 7-iron. He's pretty tall, 6'9". Yes, looks pretty tall. 2 inches longer. The club's lie angle is 2 degrees up. 15 yards right of the target, 5 yards left. So he's missing right and left and 20 yards short. Okay, so let's take a look here. Okay, so definitely a lot of posture loss. What I'm going to do is let me pull up the other view first, just to see ball position placement, so give me a sec. Okay, Alex, here's your face on. So ball position, you can clearly see it's on your left foot. It could be a camera issue. Maybe the person that took your video was facing kind of at a different angle, but it still looks like it's favoring the left foot. With the 7-iron, I believe this was... Yeah, I believe it's both 7-irons. You want it to be more in the center. You don't want to start shifting that ball too far forward. I mean, that's more for like a driver position. With that being said, you can see your right shoulder's having to tilt down a little bit more to push your hands out in front, and your spine angle as well is kind of shifted a little bit back. So your hands are pressing ahead of where that spine angle should be. The ball position is pretty good to your spine. So if you want to move that ball position back and kind of level your shoulders out a little bit, that might help you out. That could also explain why you need to stand up, because you have such a big tilt going into the motion that you have to create the room to stand up to flip your hands. And that forward press also encourages you to flip your hands to get that club head to catch up to your spine angle. So that's the kind of misses I see with that forward press. But let's take a look at your motion here, and we'll take this triangle away and we'll put some back brace line. We'll leave your ball position line there, and I'll also draw your back brace line and then also your impact line. So that is your impact line. The taller one is where you should try to drive into. So let's take a look here. Okay, a little bit of shifting over that. So you see how your hips kind of shifted over instead of turning. So I do see a lack of turn in your lower body. But your hand is in a decent position here. I mean, your hands are definitely away from your chest, not quite centered enough. So the lack of turn causes your hand to pull back further behind you, and it's kind of behind your body. So if you can imagine that there's a triangle based on your turn. So there's your turn. So your hands can be basically anywhere in front to maybe a little bit back over here. But once they start having to make up for that turn, put it this way, you could have did a lot more makeup. You could have had your hands way back here to get that club to parallel and have to really reconnect. So it's not as bad as it could be, but it could be a little bit better. So recommendation is definitely, instead of sliding, increase that turn right away. That'll get your shoulders to turn a little bit more, get your hands more in front of your chest, so you don't have to kind of reconnect and stand up and flip to get at that impact zone, which you kind of see you do. So as you take that motion down, here comes that motion down, you're trying to drive your weight, but now you have to stand up to create some sort of room so your hands can kind of reach under and get a little flipping going on. You do have a pretty strong grip, so it would explain if you flip and release, you can miss it left. If you don't flip enough, you can block it right. So you're kind of limiting your release point with that ball position and then also your strong grip. But you do what you can. I mean, you're definitely athletic Definitely get to that left side as best as you can. Now your lower body's hanging on that left side, but the upper body's kind of falling back. And that's probably just due to you standing up and trying to get the lower body activated, and also recover from that shift going right. So it does shift you off your target line and also your ball position line. So hopefully that makes sense from the face on, but let's take a look at the down the line to see how your planes are affected. Okay, Alex, so here's your down the line. First of all, I'm assuming you're trying to go for that pin and you're not trying to play any sort of motion into that shot. So if you take a look at where your feet are lined up, and your feet are pretty far right of that target, your shoulders are pretty square, or excuse me, your shoulders are pointing slightly left of that target. When your knees are also pointing right. So the lower body is definitely right of the target. Hips and upper body are left of the target, and that's usually that front ball position. In order to reach that front ball position, you might have to feel like you have to open your shoulders to reach that front ball position. So that ball position is kind of playing havoc with your motions originally. So definitely grip adjustment, ball position adjustment, maybe your posture adjustment, just to see how we're doing here. But let's take a look at your planes. So pretty nice big plane to work with. We'll put the spine angle, and this might explain a lot of it though, because to maintain that tilt with your height, I don't think it's very comfortable, so you might have to stand up to get more comfortable, to alleviate some pressure on the back, and that will cause you to, start getting your hands involved a lot too. So let's take a look here. Okay, club shaft, pretty good there. Club is matching the spine pretty nicely. Okay, arms are a little bit low. You can see, the sufferer of turn. So if you get those hips to turn a little bit more, get those hands a little bit higher, this tilt, you do a good job of maintaining that tilt, so you can see the tilt is there. Anytime you have your tilting, that starts to create some issues too with your hands getting higher or lower. If I increase my tilt, my hands typically go below me. If I increase my turn, my hands usually raise up. So because you have an increase of tilt, because you have to match that increased spine angle, could be playing some issues here. But let's see how we do in dropping in the slot. Okay, slightly steep there. Not enough time to get that in the slot. So for you to get that club in the slot to help you out, the easiest way to do that is to stand up. And once you start standing up, that changes your path. There's that stand up. So look at that. You stand up, there goes that path. You're back in the slot now. Although the momentum of that change gets your club face below your hands, and now it's more of like a digging motion. And pair that with the strong grip, that's where you have some pretty severe issues with your misses. And there's your block out to the right. So that could be an alignment issue as well, but look at how much you stand up. So there's your shaft hump, and there's your new spine angle. So there's definitely a lot of issues going back and forth, up and down. I would suggest, with your height, you don't want to have too much tilt, and that comes from your bend. So a little taller, check your alignment, check your ball position. Hopefully that's enough for you to at least kind of see your cause and effect. Again, don't do this by yourself. Make sure you're working with somebody who can maybe see the same things. That's great. If they see something different, that's great too. But at least you'll have somebody to work with on a routine basis to help guide you through that. Because they definitely have to do a range of motion testing on you as well. But hopefully that helps. And I'm gonna guess it looks very hilly. It looks almost like Malibu. Do I say Southern California? I think I will. Looks pretty sunny. Let me know. Next up. Okay, next up we have Ashton. So let's take a look at his swing real quick. Okay. Wow. Okay, let me just look up Ashton's notes. No notes. Okay, no notes from Ashton. So just kind of do what we can with this. First of all, that position looks very alarming for the lower back, and I'll explain why in a little bit. But let's take a look at this motion here. Ball position looks pretty good. Stacking on that left side slightly. And then you have to unstack and kind of hang back and rely on a big heavy tilt, and you're getting kind of blocked up there. So it's very stack and tilt like. There's that stack on that left side and the tilt under, and then the restack to fall back, changing the spine angle dramatically. And then in order for you to maintain that, you have to get that tilt under. So this is, I've tried stack and tilt, and it worked great for me until my back didn't like it anymore, and I had to change. So just be cautious with this. Stack and tilt is great for the right person, for the right stature, but let's look at that lower brace line. So you do a really good job of bracing that lower line. That's a little worrying there. Looking at the footwork. Footwork looks okay. Looks kind of stuck here. You can see it's not quite getting to that left heel enough. Be interesting to see what you do at impact from down the line. Looks like you come from the inside a lot and then flip it around, but we'll have to see from down the line. Okay, so let's take a look here. Let's get to the impact lines, some head brace lines, just to see how the head motion's doing. First of all, grip looks pretty good, slightly strong, but pretty good. It's matching your spine angle pretty well. So there's your shoulder tilt, and there's your spine angle going down here. So it's pretty close to your spine angle, maybe slightly back, but that's not a big deal. And motions, rocking around the head. There's a lot of hip tilt going on here though. So you look at that hip tilt, it's really digging down, causing your left knee to also break down. And then you have to kind of reposition yourself, because now your spine is trying its best to stay in that initial angle, but it's starting to tip back the other way just because of those hip tilts. And then you have to get your hips to tilt the other way now. And there's that real kind of jump into it. Now look at the hip tilts, it's extreme this way, upper body's falling back this way. So all of a sudden you just see a bunch of lines. So I apologize about that, but that's just the way I kind of think. And then you go under and release. So it looks like there's just some slight upper body tilting going on. That's not really necessary, which will cause you to really tilt back under. So, but all in all, it looks decent from here in terms of your GASP, grip alignment, setup, posture. But let's take a look from behind, because that might really help open up. Okay, Ashton, let's see down the line here. Okay, so let's draw some lines. Let's get some plain lines going. Posture looks pretty good. Upper plane line, got the spine angle, back brace line. Arms are hanging down pretty nice and natural. Here, let me redraw that. So arms are hanging down from the socket, which is good. You look pretty soft. I mean, you look pretty steady. Alignment issues, I'm not sure if you're trying to open your alignment a little bit there, but at least you got, put it this way, at least you got an alignment rod down there. Most of the time we don't use those. But let's take a look at this motion here. Head goes down a little bit. Okay, so there's that loading to the toes, and that could just be caused by a pretty hunched over starting position. Club face tries its best to stay on that plane line. Arms are going up a little bit too much, and then they come back around. Okay, wow. So, okay. Let's see what happens here. Wow. Okay. I mean, a picture says 1,000 words. I don't think I need to explain why this is, alarming for that lower lumbar region. Okay, so you're trying your best. I mean, you do a really good job, though, of keeping that tilt around that initial axis. And then you come on up. This is a unique one. This is tough. I mean, that path of that club is so shallow. I mean, it gets so far below your lower plane line. I mean, you're fighting this motion here. I mean, look at how heavy you can hit these shots. So I would imagine a lot of thin shots, a lot of heavy shots. If you time it right, you can maybe hit it pretty good. This needs to be addressed pretty quickly, this motion here. Okay, so, without getting too technical, you need a lot of impact drills. So you need to find somebody near your facility that can help you out here, because this can't be done by yourself. This can't be done online. This needs somebody physically there to put you in these positions, to get you to feel what it's like, to get your arms a little bit higher to that secondary plane line, so you don't have to manipulate a lot, because you see how much you've lost your posture here. I mean, your upper body's trying to stay its best. You're like crunching into the golf ball, and there's not much room to move. You're physically capable of doing it. I mean, you're probably physically capable of doing more things, but look at your upper back. It goes up and then crouches back down. So a lot of potential back injuries. So you need to see somebody pretty quickly to get you to feel what it's like to get your arms higher, stay on that plane line, brace this back brace line, work on your weight shifting so you can create the room so you can just kind of turn and tilt under naturally. This is not a natural tilt. This is an accentuated tilt due to something breaking down. So, this is a really tough one to prescribe anything, because this is almost a swing overhaul, and swing overhauls are very scary because they can take a long time depending on how much you've practiced and how many golf balls you've hit and how much is in your neurological system, but it can be done. I used to have a similar motion just because when I grew up with persimmon clubs, and my dad cut down for me, and they were very heavy, so I had to pick up the club and it would drop back around. So my club was in the similar position as you, and it took me about 2 years to get rid of mine. Now keep in mind, I've been playing since I was 4 years old, so at that point I was in my early 20s, so I had a lot of golf ball history behind me to unlearn, and to this day I still have loop, but it's not as severe, it's controlled. But this is going to take a lot of work if you want to do it correctly. Now, you can hit the ball from anywhere, but can you hit it consistently? And can you do it not in a compromising position that'll hurt you? So this just looks like it could be potential danger. So my best recommendation for you is hopefully you can see what I'm talking about, what's going on with your motions. And this is a very, very hard swing on your back. So just be careful. Highly, highly recommend you seek some assistance. And if you don't know anybody in your area, just let me know. I could know somebody out there. It looks very wintry, snowy, so I'm gonna guess. Let's go with Kansas. Let me know, but hopefully that helps. If you need help finding somebody, let me know as well. Let's go last one up. Okay, last we have Ishan. So Ishan, welcome. Let's take a look and see if you have any notes here. No notes, just cheers. So cheers back. Let's take a look. Let's look at this motion first. Okay. Very trapped in terms of your arms. They're getting stuck at impact, so you have to kind of manufacture some room for them to work, which affects your upper body because you see a lot of leaning back. So not a lot of weight drive. You just look like you're spinning and spinning. And also that forward press is going to cause some concerns for you as well. You do make it work. Okay, so let's take a look here. First of all, that forward press, if you've followed a couple of my videos, I'm not a huge fan of that because that doesn't line up to your shoulder tilt. So based on this shoulder tilt, that's where the ball position should be, and they're connected to your spine. Once you get your hands out in front of your spine, now it's on two different circles. So you have a circle around your spine axis, and then you also have another circle around your shoulder. So now you have to time both these instead of working on that circle around the axis. So that's just my personal opinion, and I've seen better results from using that. So not to say that this cannot work. I've seen people do this that work great, but in the law of averages, trying to work with less is better. But let's take a look at the lower brace line here. Let's erase this one. Actually, you know what? Let's keep both because it'll be good to see how you get there. We'll do a headline, and then also we'll do a small little impact line here. Okay. So good job. I mean, you definitely brace on that right side. I would say you look a little bit slightly lead heavy, like the weight is stuck on that left side. So there's not much to push off. As you drive through, all you have really is to turn. Your hands try to catch up to that original ball position. So you see your hands have caught up to the spine angle. So this is what I meant by timing. Your hands have been relied now to say, okay, I need to reconnect with my spine, but also hit that golf ball. So you have to get a little bit flippy to do that with. And then as a result, you hold off that release, just like we usually see, a delayed release. But you do a good job of keeping it connected to your chest. So you do have a lot of good things that you do. So really well. You can see how you're leaning back as you finish. That's just a lack of weight drive. All you're really doing is kind of spinning, but you don't really turn as much on the way back. So you're not really giving yourself much to work with, but you create a lot out of very minimal positions. So you do have a lot of potential, a lot of good things going on here. I would definitely change that ball position. I would definitely work on rotating a little bit more on the way back, especially with that lower body. Get that turn to increase slightly more. Get your hands to free up. I would imagine that they're also very low and you get stuck. But in terms of your head height, your head dips down and it kind of falls back under. But again, that could just be that ball position. And you try to get the most of your weight that you can on the lower body. So the lower body's trying to do its job, but the upper body's just hanging back. So not a lot of weight distribution going on there. But let's take a look from down the line. Okay, Sean, so first of all, I hope I'm saying that name correctly. So forgive me if I'm not. Let's take a look. Alignments, feet are going off into this area, so that means the club face should be going off to that bunker. I'm not sure if that was your alignment, but remember, feet are always pointing left of your target because it's the club face that hits the golf ball, not the feet. So hopefully that is your target that you're going for. Let's just put some of our usual back brace line, and forgive me if they're not too straight. This mouse is a little bit chaotic sometimes. Lower brace line, lower plane line, upper plane line. Feet look like they're really supporting, the front portion of your hips. They should kind of support more of the middle of your hips. So could be a possible address change there. So maybe slightly pull the feet back slightly and kind of lean a little bit more forward so you're not so heel heavy here. Let's take a look at the motion though. Okay, below the plane, same thing. So you get to that, this is like Mo Norman-esque, where you get to that lower plane line and you just kind of pull it back down. Club is slightly open, which is fine. Kind of standing up to strike that golf ball. And that's usually a case when you come from very shallow, and this is not as severe as the last video, but this is still pretty shallow. In order to keep that club shallow, you have to increase your turn and start standing up to keep that club above that line or on that line. So you can't really tilt from there underneath the golf ball, but you have to accentuate your turn. And that's what gives you that standing up motion. You do a pretty good job of bracing that back brace line and staying in your posture. And then it's just basically turning and coming on out. You try and maintain your spine. You do a good job maintaining your spine angle and your tilting, and you come on up. So definitely, some potential here. A couple of things you can work on. Oh man, it's just that little posture loss there. So another interesting one, because this is successful because of its design. So if you change its design, it won't become successful until you learn how to be successful on the new design. So if I suggest one slight change, it's going to realign everything, and you're going to hit it worse. You're going to hit it the worst you've ever hit it in your life, and you're going to hate me. You're going to send me a bunch of email. But unfortunately, with this type of motion, if you want to increase turn and if you want to increase the weight drive, you're going to have to learn to get those arms a little bit higher to give them room to drop down while you turn and tilt, as opposed to being so attached to your body. So typically I see this as a result of somebody that has used that head cover drill, where they just focus on keeping that right arm stuck to the right side. Now the problem with that is now it's so glued to the right side that it can't be an independent motion, which it has to be. You look at the hands and arms of really good players, although they're tucked in, they're not glued to the body, because once they're glued to the body, they don't really do their job. They're kind of limited, and now you become very body oriented, where it should be a friendly balance of both. So definitely some weight issues as well. And you can see as you come into the golf ball, as you take it away, you come into the golf ball, and that's going to get you closer to the golf ball. So you have to figure out a way around that. So that for you is increasing that turn to get that club to stay above that plane line. Again, this is one of those where I can't really make recommendations, just a cause and effect video for you. But if you're not seeing somebody, I highly recommend you do, just to help you get sorted out. But on a good news, though, you do a really good job at striking the golf ball. I mean, I see your potential there. Now, depends on what your problem is. If your problem is distance, if your problem is direction, if your problem is making sure you have at least adequate distance every time you hit it. Not to say that you'll all of a sudden hit one 20 yards too far or 20 yards too short. So depends on your goals. But all in all, pretty good swing. I definitely want to create some more room for your arms to go up and down, but in order to do that, you have to kind of change a lot of your core mechanics, and that could be a scary change as well. So my best recommendation for you as well is also go find a professional if you're not working with somebody, and if you are, just let them know what this was, and maybe they see something different that can help you out, or maybe they see the same thing. So it's a communal event. It's a communal thing to help you out, but I hope that helps you. And as always, thank you so much for the submissions, and if you're interested in appearing on a future episode, the link is below in the email. Just go ahead and submit your face on and down the line. And I appreciate your help, appreciate your support. And if you know anybody that might be interested, let them know too. Helps the channel grow. And if you like this content, hit that like and subscribe as well. And I appreciate it. And I'll see you on episode 19. It's hard to believe it's 19 already. Take care, and fairways and greens.